Hello everyone, back again with movie and tune recap. Today, I'm going to explain an American horror anthology film from 2016 titled Holidays. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. The movie starts with Maxine, a swimmer, climbing onto the diving board in the gym. Heidi and her friends, fellow swimmers, pick on Maxine. On the diving board, Maxine hesitates to dive, and suddenly, Heidi appears behind Maxine and pushed her into the water. Maxine nearly drowns but is saved by her compassionate coach, Coach Rockwell, whom she admires. It's then revealed that Rockwell has a heart condition and requires a transplant. He's unable to address Heidi's bullying of Maxine because she's organized a fundraiser for him. In the changing room, Heidi continues to taunt Maxine about her feelings for Rockwell and ridicules her inability to help him with his illness. Rockwell overhears their conversation and, after everyone leaves, he leaves a Valentine's letter in Maxine's locker to comfort her. Maxine discovers the letter and feels elated. However, the situation takes a dark turn when Maxine follows Heidi and confronts her near a creek. Heidi, frightened, attempts to flee but trips and falls into mud. Maxine, overwhelmed with anger, strikes her in the face with a brick and fatally killed her with a box cutter. Later that night, Rockwell is getting ready to go out with his wife when the doorbell rings. He answers it, only to be shocked and horrified by Maxine standing there, holding Heidi's ripped-out heart as a Valentine's gift for him. School teacher Elizabeth Cullen shows her students a documentary film about St. Patrick's Day and the legend of how he rid Ireland of snakes. After the documentary, she takes an interest in her new, unhappy student Grain, even offering her a bell to ring, but Grain walks away without acknowledging it. Later, Elizabeth discovers that Grain has left a dried grass snake and a note reading, "Only your deepest wish can make me smile," as a St. Patrick's card project. After a night of drinking, Elizabeth wakes up in her car with a snakeskin surrounding her. In the supermarket, she encounters Grain, who places her ear on Elizabeth's stomach with a creepy smile before running away. Later, Elizabeth joyfully discovers that she is pregnant, only to receive the shocking news from the doctor that the baby will be a snake. In school, Elizabeth finds a drawing Grain made depicting her giving birth to a snake and vomits black sludge. The entire class start to panic, but Grain sits calmly, smiling and clapping. Driven by anger, Elizabeth approaches Grain and slaps her, but Grain continues to smile at her. As Elizabeth's pregnancy progresses, her behavior becomes increasingly erratic, and she refuses to heed any reasoning. In the final weeks of her pregnancy, Elizabeth lies in her bathtub and places a mouse on her belly, hoping to lure the snake out of her womb. Elizabeth's belly thrashes as the snake inside tries to escape, causing her to pass out, and she saw this. When she regains consciousness, she finds Grain standing behind her. Grain, along with a mysterious man who is presumably Grain's father and the father of Elizabeth's snake baby, leads Elizabeth away. The man expects Elizabeth to be horrified, but instead, she happily embraces her role as the snake's mother and joins their cult. Later, a new teacher at the school receives the same ominous message from Grain, hinting at a continuation of the unsettling events. As a little girl is tucked into bed by her mother, she becomes frightened by the impending visit of the Easter Bunny. Her mother tries to reassure her, explaining the holiday mascot's connection to Jesus and his resurrection before finally managing to tuck her in. She emphasizes that the girl must be asleep when the Easter Bunny comes because no child has ever seen him. Later in the night, the girl gets up for a drink of water in the kitchen, and is alarmed by a noise. Upon investigating, she discovers a crucified Jesus/Easter Bunny-like creature leaving chicks and candies in the living room. She tries to sneak back to her room but is caught by the grotesque bunny man. He explains that now that she has seen him, she must take his place and that she will never see her mother again, but will witness wonderful magical things. He feeds her an egg and begins murmuring words that transform her into another bunny creature. The mother wakes to find her daughter missing from the house and frantically calls for her, as the back door locked by itself.
Happy Mother's Day!
Kate finds herself trapped in a distressing cycle of repeated pregnancies and abortions despite taking precautions, including asking her ex-boyfriend to use double protection during intimacy. Her family has distanced themselves from her, and even her friends believe she's losing her mind. Seeking guidance, she confides in her doctor, who advises her to attend a getaway retreat located in the middle of the desert. Initially, the retreat appears promising, but one night, Kate becomes entangled in an orgy with other women and a muscular man. She soon discovers that the retreat is inhabited by barren witches desperate to conceive, and they reveal to Kate that she is the gateway to their hopes of pregnancy. Kate falls into a catatonic state but is tended to and looked after by the witches, who isolate her from contacting the outside world. She discovers that her doctor, who suggested the retreat, is part of the coven. Seizing an opportunity when they are distracted, Kate secretly takes the doctor's phone. Later, when she is outside, she tries to call 911, but her attempt is thwarted, and she is caught. Eventually, Kate manages to escape, but she stumbles and unexpectedly goes into labor. The women gather around to assist in the birth, but they scream in terror when a bloody full-sized arm emerges from her.
Dad, I love my dad, Dad.
Carol returns home from teaching and receives a mysterious package from her father, whom she hasn't seen since childhood. Inside the package, she finds an old cassette deck player with earphones. She listens to the tape and hears her father expressing his love for her, instructing her to visit their childhood hangout spot for a reunion. Feeling angry about her mother's deception regarding her father's death, Carol leaves a voicemail expressing her frustration. Upon reaching the place hinted at on the tape, she realizes it was recorded during her childhood adventures with her father, guiding her to specific locations, and she reminisces her memories with her father on that day. The tape eventually guides her to a building with a mysterious door, a place she recalls entering with her father in the past. Inside, her father had asked the woman at reception to take care of her before leaving. On the tape, her father apologizes for leaving, explaining that he had to go because he only had one chance to meet him, and as Carol enters the building, it seems to transport her to another world. Meanwhile, Carol's mother tries to reach her on her cell phone, which Carol had left in her car. Inside, Carol encounters a figure sitting in a chair. The tape features her father expressing his relief that she came by her own free will. As Carol repeatedly calls out to her father while crossing a circle of salt towards the house, she is suddenly startled by a dark, mysterious humanoid figure that roared back at her. The tape recorder and headphones tumble to the ground, and Carol vanishes, as the end of the tape echoes with her father's voice repeating, "Together." Ian runs an internet sex service where he mistreats his employees Holly, Bree, and Serena, whom he exploited, convincing them to move to California to work as live-in webcam performers. When he refuses to let the girls celebrate Halloween and insults them, they retaliate by warning him not to mess with 3 women as it forms a coven. Unintimidated, he tries to assault Serena, but the girls overpower him, knocking him unconscious. Ian wakes up in his underwear, with a vibrator connected to a car battery superglued up his backside and a laptop placed in front of him, as a form of retribution from the girls. The girls send him demands through the laptop, threatening him with the vibrator if he fails to comply. When they ask him to show them his female organ, he's confused. The girls slide a knife under the door and instruct him to make it hollow, Ian. After he complies, the girls increase the battery's power to 10 out of curiosity, which presumably leads to his demise. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, and the girls answer it to find Nancy, whom Ian had contacted earlier about the job. The girls inform Nancy that they are now under new management and that Ian is no longer part of the company due to cutbacks. Pete Gunderson is running late while attempting to purchase virtual glasses called UVU for his son. Unfortunately, a man in front of him buys the last remaining stock, despite Pete calling about it earlier. Pete offers a substantial amount of money to buy the UVU from the man, but the man refuses and walks away. On his way, the man suddenly suffers a heart attack and can't access his medication. Initially, Pete starts to call for help, but he recalls his wife's insistence on getting the glasses. In a moment of desperation, Pete decides to steal the glasses and hurries home. However, upon his return, his wife complains about not receiving the promised Christmas bonus. On Christmas Day, Pete's son Bobby is thrilled as he explains that the glasses can turn thoughts and ideas into virtual games. Encouraged by his son, Pete tries them on and sees a stripper. Later that night, Pete sneaks out of bed to use the glasses again. Initially, he sees himself in a compromising situation with a prostitute, but the visuals suddenly shift to Pete stealing the glasses, viewed from the dying man's perspective. Pete tries to conceal what happened, but his wife Sarah reveals that she saw the saved footage. Pete confesses that he did it because the man had what he wanted and because he was tired of being nice, but to Pete's surprise, Sarah is aroused by the revelation, and the two engage in intimate relations. The following morning, Pete examines the glasses once more and uncovers footage revealing that Sarah had tortured and murdered her boss after he denied her a bonus. Shocked, Pete reads the tagline on the glasses, "UVU shows UU." Just then, there's a knock at the door. Reggie, a serial killer who preys on women, recently murdered his latest victim, Mandy. Seeking another victim, he connects with Jean through a dating site and arranges to meet her on New Year's Eve. Their date is uneasy due to Reggie's peculiar behavior, but Jean, feeling sympathy for him, invites him to her apartment. Upon their return, Reggie excuses himself to the bathroom under the guise of freshening up, intending to use chloroform on Jean. However, while snooping through the medicine cabinets, Reggie makes a chilling discovery. Jean keeps severed limbs and organs in jars, including an empty jar labeled Reggie, exposing her as a fellow serial killer. Suddenly, Jean rushes in with a fire axe and attacks Reggie, who further finds corpses in her bathtub. Reggie attempts to make it to the living room and has his foot severed by the axe. After managing to reach his jacket, Reggie retrieves a revolver but realizes he forgot to load it, reminiscent of his earlier mistake when he tried to shoot his previous victim. In a fatal oversight, Reggie's error leaves him defenseless, and Jean swiftly strikes, splitting his head open and ending his life. As the new year begins, Jean dances with her axe, reveling in the macabre celebration of her dark deeds. Okay guys, that's all the recap about holidays from 2016. Thanks for watching, see you again in the next video.